Welcome back. We are live with Tomi A from the USA, writer and author of a beautiful book, The Young Wife's Roadmap. She's here to give us information on what her book. She's the founder of One Young Wife. She's here to tell us about her book, why she founded why she came up with One Young Wife. What is this that she went through? What is this that she saw? Karibu sana, Tomi A.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited being here. So I started One Young Wife in 2016. I was just that wife who I would go to bed crying. Being a multi-passionate person, I was always in positions where I would control and supervise and direct. I'm the first of four, grew up a typical pastor's daughter. And when I got married, I was controlling and directing, and my husband was not like it in alignment. And it frustrated me because I was just used to controlling things and directing things my way. But by the time I got into marriage, I started to feel all the flaws, things about me that I did not work on before marriage. I felt like everything was just laid on the coffee table of my life, and I had to start dealing with it. Pride, just self-esteem was definitely dwindling. Just basic things that you would have expected a 25-year-old woman to have learned before she got married. I was struggling with those things. So I remember one night after a really bad disagreement, I just literally went to bed crying and just wailing. And I just entered the closet. I wore the robe I wore on my wedding day, and I just wept. Like not just weeping like, oh, I have failed, but God, this is never going to work. It's okay. I'm a registered nurse by trade. I'm like, it's okay. The plan is I'll just go to Sudan. I'll just be a missionary nurse. It will take my parents forever to figure out my marriage to not work. They live about 9 hours away. But at the same time, in that moment, though, I felt like I knew deep within myself that my Sudan plan was not a realistic plan. Just like other women out there, they probably, when things get really hard in their marriage, they have a little bit of a plan. So I that minute, I decided to ask God, you've made me an exemplary person in almost everything I've done in my life up until this point. You need to teach me how to be a wife. Teach me what I am missing, what I have to do in order to be better. And I remember going back to bed that night and just having a little bit of peace that within me. I woke up the next morning, and the first thing I did was just a really good self-assessment. Like, so what is the biggest thing that you're having trouble with? Like I said, I grew up like a typical pastor's daughter, so my dad was a typical dad, my mom was a typical mom, so it's yes, and the answer is always yes too. There's really not a lot of friendship. It was very that traditional husband and wife relationship. So in my marriage, I wanted to, there are three things. You do different things based on your background when you get married. You either dwindle to the side of doing it exactly the way your parents did it, or you dwindle to the side of total opposite, or you just sit in the middle and just almost be stuck and not do anything at all. For me, I swung to the middle, so all the way to the right. I did not want to be that yes, or my husband says yes, and I'm just nodding my head yes, kind of person. So I lost respect in the midst of all of that. I did not know how to even respect myself or stand my ground, and I did not even know how to respect him as well. I was always layering my word with some sarcasm in it, which was always disrespectful. So I figured out that's something I have to start with. Public display of affection definitely was not my territory as well. So I had to learn those things. So I started reading books, and over like a 12-month period from that very day, I read about 24 books on marriage, on confidence, on self-esteem, just everything that I could lay my hands on that would help me be better. And that was where the journey started. I started to become better, and even my husband would look at me and say, Am I saved? Are we good? That's not how you would have reacted. So I started getting better, and I thought, man, I wonder, and I just started thinking about other young wives out there. They're not in abusive relationship, they're not in abusive marriages, but they're just struggling. They're just gotten to that point in their life where they have to leave with this person that spent 20 something or 30 something years of their life alone, and now they're merging lives together. And that's why I wrote the book, just to help you navigate those initial stages: conflict resolution, communication, sex and intimacy, in order to help you. So I give you communication tools as well, communication skills, so that you can become confident and be emotionally stable and confident in the initial stages of your marriage as well, which is important in order to build a strong foundation.
Okay. Initially, at no point have you mentioned when you are going through your issues, normally people run back to their parents. Like you realize you don't know how to do anything, you are drifting off that power of being in control of everything. Then how did you not? Normally people run back to their families, run back to their mothers or to their guardians, their friends. Why did you not go back to your friends or family?
So that's a very good question. So I live in Odessa, Texas, and that's about 8 hours away from Houston, Texas. My parents stay in Houston, Texas. My closest sibling lives about 5 hours away. And we moved here right after we got married, or actually right before we got married, because that was when my husband got a job. So it's very, very it's mostly white, and so the African community here is not that big, and we don't even attend a very, very African church. So going back or driving 9 hours after every disagreement was not an option. But I remember growing up, though, my mom would always go back to her dad's house every time we have a disagreement, and my dad would always have to go get her. So I had that picture in my head as well, that I wanted to fix my problem. I knew that I married a good man, I married a goodwill man, and it has to work. I don't know if you believe in personalities, but I'm a full-blown choleric and is a full-blown melancholic, and that combination is just a lot of friction until you get to a point where God helps you shape him, or he shapes himself, and then you can start rubbing each other nicely. Driving 9 hours every time or flying for 2 hours to my parents' house was not an option. I can't even remember ever calling my mom and saying, "Oh, mommy, I'm feeling this way." That was another thing I struggled with. I was too prideful. I was too prideful to even talk to friends about what I was dealing with in marriage. I was too prideful to even accept to myself that, Tomi, you have a lot of work to do in order to actually get to this woman that you really want to be. So it was really not an option. It was just the only person I had to talk to that I know that sent me through a lot of things up until that point was God, and then books. I just went back to those things, and they definitely did tell me through it.
So we can say this is one of those situations where God places you in a place where you can't run. It's just you and him. It's just you and God.
Yes.
You've talked about the different personalities between you and your husband. Do you think, or in your book, is there a place you've addressed how you merge personalities in marriage?
Yes, because that's when I coach young wives in the initial stages of their marriage, that's where I start. I start with self-evaluation. Let's do some self-awareness. Let's do some self-assessments. Let's also see your vulnerability level. Let's see your friendship level in your marriage. Let's talk about your husband's personality and your personality and why you act the way you do. I am on the back end as well. I'm also a very even though I'm a nurse, I don't do like bedside nursing. I do the quality side of nursing. So I track and trend data. I crunch numbers. I see what the data is trending, and I use that to do performance improvement. So I bring that into my coaching. I bring that into my own self-improvement plan as well. So one of the things I do whenever I talk to this woman is I gather some data, and I try to figure out, is this person the middle child? Is this person the last born? Is this person the firstborn? And what kind of problems do they all have in common? And one thing I've also realized that the lastborns and the firstborns have the most issue in the initial stages of their marriage. The lastborns are used to just getting everything dumped on them. And in marriage, you can only do that for for just a little bit of time. Your husband can only dump as much stuff on you. At some point, you just blow up. And for them, growing up, they couldn't really blow up because they're just the last child. And the first one is all about one of my mentors, Brene Brown. She actually describes it like this. I grew up just in our words. What's that word? Pleasing, perfecting, proving. Those are the three things that firstborns do, and you can only do those three things just for a little bit of time in marriage before you get really emotionally drained and overwhelmed. There's supposed to be freedom in your home, and when you lose respect for each other, when you're scared of resolving conflict, when you're scared of having communication, it sucks out the love and the affection in that marriage, and before you know it, you're weighing yourself down emotionally. So yes, I talked about all of that in the book. It's actually divided into 4 different sessions as well. So self-assessment, how to juggle being a mom and being all those 5 million things at the same time. How to help you find your own purpose, where you belong here. Because there are times that you're not. This is one thing I tell wives: you're not created to. God did not create you to just be a wife only. You were created for so much more, and there are times you just have to dig deep into into who you are as a person, because at some point you'll be so involved and so passionate about whatever it is that you're doing that it would take you a long time before you start getting irritated by what your spouse is doing. So I wrote all about that in the book as well.
At some point you said that you are a coach, a young wives coach. Do you also offer counseling services? What is it that you do in the One Young Wives Initiative or the community?
So I am a firm believer in education. I am a registered nurse by trade, like I said. I have a master's in public health, and I'm into some information technology as well on the clinical side. So I would get really upset if somebody decides to go talk to, or if somebody gets sick, right, and they decide to go talk to a plumber about what's going on with them, or instead of actually going to talk to a doctor, or instead of going to talk to a nurse about what's going on with them. The same thing happens in the relationship and marriage world. My expertise is what I'm bringing to the table. This is my strength: public speaking, writing books about my experience. But there are people that actually went to school for counseling. The marriage counselors, the marriage therapists. Those are the people that I want people to gravitate towards. Just the way you save up money to buy a really cute outfit, put a little bit of money together to go talk to a therapist. Go. Your pastor cannot be your therapist every day because they have a life of their own. And trust me, I grew up in the pastor's house, and I do not mean to say that in a bad way, but they have a life of their own, and you have to invest in those things as well. For me, I coach women in the initial stages of their marriage, and as soon as we start talking, and I realize that what you're needing is definitely way more than I can offer, I would send you back out to the counselors. So on One Young Wife, we have licensed counselors on the back end. So I would have some wives go talk to them, or they can then come talk to me. It really depends on what their preferences are. But usually, if I know I cannot help you, or you need a little bit more clinical, there's a little bit of depression, there's sometimes there's psychosis, there are other things embedded in that only a licensed professional counselor can help you with. I cannot help you with that. But on the front end though, when wives come to me, there are things I could help them, teaching them communication skills, teaching them how to navigate this, how to navigate that. But when I know you need expert help, just like when you go to see a doctor and you go to see a gynecologist and you need an endocrinologist, you're being transferred to that person. That's how I work. But I know in this day and age, though, everybody wants to show themselves as an expert, and they don't know where to stop sometimes. They don't know when to say, okay, this is not my field. Let's go talk to somebody else. But for me, yeah, I really want you to go talk to the people that actually went to school to do that.
Now, I would like you to tell us about some of your success stories. But right before that, I wanted to know, based on your experience, your personal experience, and some of the young wives and young moms you've dealt with, do you feel like some of these problems and challenges come in before or after babies, or all of them just bombard you like some form of culture shock?
Oh man, that's a good question. So for me, we actually struggle with infertility as well in the initial stages of our marriage. And the core, and I always still say it up until today, if I gotten pregnant immediately right after we got married, I'm thinking I doubt it if my marriage will have stood the storm, if my marriage will have stayed, because most times, every stage in marriage, every stage in anything comes with its own ups and downs, right? Your stomach cannot always filter the thought of your husband or the thought of your wife. You have those ups and downs. So for me, all the issues started right after we got married, because at that point it was just me and my husband, and all this picture I have in my head of all this beautiful flower of friendship, beautiful flower of communication, and all this amazing stuff that you just automatically expect in marriage. I did not know how to put in the work in it in order to get it out. And I was frustrated, so I would act out. I would say things I know I'm not supposed to be saying. There was lots of silent treatments, things like that. So it really all depends. And after pregnancy comes with its own different ball game. But the truth is, this is what I tell wives. The marriage road can be really, really rough at times. And there are times that you know that your marriage road is very smooth. When it's going well, when there's those flowers in your belly, there's just fluttering, and the butterflies are fluttering, that's a good time to ask your spouse questions about what to do with each other when the going gets tough. So ask yourself questions about when you start to get upset about what do you want me to do to help you feel better? When this happens, what would you like me to do that will help you know that, okay, now let's stop and just go back to where this situation started from. So those are the times to put good, and those are the kinds of things I teach women. And sometimes all of these resources are actually on our Instagram page. We have a community of over 100,000 young wives across the board. Actually, most of our followings are from Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Tanzania, and actually India and Kenya. I'm not sure if I said Kenya already. But yeah, so it's and all of this, you can literally just scroll through videos and post of different things that would just give you all these things you need. So you necessarily do not have to actually come talk to me. Just reading those resources, and if you need extra help, you can talk to your licensed counselor on the back end, or you can then come talk to me. But different stages of marriage comes with lots of different things. After baby is born, that's a whole different ball game. But one thing though, after baby is born, that you have to be extremely careful of or extremely aware about is that postpartum depression, which that's a whole topic by itself. But yes, the problems can start at any point in any relationship.
Mm-hmm. So I'd like to pick up something you said. You know, the initial stages when you've just gotten married, the word on the street is usually enjoy the kind of treatment you get from a man in the initial stages. They say because you will never get it again. You know how he calls, how he communicates. He's constantly there. Oh, Mekula, have you eaten? Are you okay? How was your day? And then once you get married, you're not getting those anymore.
Yeah.
So yes, now how do you go about it? You know, you're already used to that kind of treatment. You're already used to being taken care of. And then now you are together in the house, you're now married. How do you keep that romance running? How do you keep the love intentional like it was in the beginning?
Yeah. So the love and all the butterflies that your marriage cannot sustain itself of the love that you felt on your wedding day. Marriage needs continuous, consistent, intentional work. Just like you would work on yourself. You work on making sure that you have the right shade of foundation on. And if it's too dark or too light, you go back to the store, have them match you, or you work on yourself career wise. Marriage is not just like even your shoes. If you buy a shoe, I'm really not a shoe person, but if you buy a shoe and you do not maintain it as well, it would fall apart. The same thing happens with marriage. You have to take your time. You start to do some self-assessment. You start to ask yourself, so what was missing in the initial, what tickled my fancy in those initial stages? What's my love language? What's missing right now? What's a need to have and nice to have? Is it a need to have that you go to the movie every night? Or is it a need to have that he sits on the couch with you and just have a regular conversation? Another thing you have to do in those initial years to keep the butterflies, which again, it has its ups and downs, is to find you. In those initial years of my marriage, I lost myself in the midst of all of that. I would go to work, even though I was in a director position, and I enjoyed the Tomi I saw at work, the vibrant and all this kind of Tomi. But as soon as I got home, it was a different Tomi. I would just it was just a really different Tomi. And I started to figure out, so what exactly is missing? What do I need to start working on? So in order to keep the butterflies, or in order to make sure that the level of friendship and communication in your marriage is on a sustainable level, because going to Jamaica every weekend is not a sustainable way to keep you excited, right? So you have to find your need to have and your nice to have. Is your need to have, what's your love language? Is it a quality time? Is it gifting? Is it physical touch? Things like that. You have to figure that out. So as soon as you know that, you will be able to communicate that to your spouse and say, okay, you know what? I felt da-da-da-da-da when you did da-da-da-da-da. If you do that once a week, that would really keep me happy. Another exercise that I make wives do in the initial stages of their marriage is to sit down with their husband and for them to come up with about 20 different things or 10 different things that helps you, each person will write theirs. 10 or 20 different things that helps you feel loved and respected in marriage. Just think about it. 20 things. And then as soon as you're done, you then exchange your papers and try to do one thing on that list every day. Just one thing on that list every day. In the book as well, I have a whole section, and I call it intentional text messages for your spouse. And you can send this text messages one every other day or every week or every day, however you want to do it, just to constantly let your spouse know. But you have to remember though, that sometimes the way we want to be loved is not the way our spouse wants to be loved. So you have to love them the way they want to be loved and communicate to them, teach them how you want them to love you as well. For me, words of affirmations are my thing. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I can pull down, I don't know, Mountain Kilimanjaro, but with every strength in me. If somebody's just cheering me on and telling me you're doing a great job and things like that. So, and it took him a little bit of time to get to that point where he could see that, okay, words of affirmation is really, really important. So it would feed me that, and for him it's quality time and public display of affection and physical touch. And I don't know how to do that. Probably saw my parents kiss themselves maybe twice in my entire life. So having to learn, I had to read that in the book as well. And there are times I would even set alarm on my phone just to remind me to maybe kiss them or things like that. And you think those things would come naturally, right? But for personalities like mine, and if that's anybody watching, sometimes you have to be really intentional about those things that you don't know how to do well.
It is said that don't love your partner in your love language, love them in their love language. Now, earlier on you talked about postpartum depression. How do you go about postpartum depression, especially in a situation where you are already at loggerheads with your husband? How do you start explaining to him, I'm not okay? Or does he even notice you're not okay for the fact that one, you're not, or both of you are at loggerheads, and here you are at a whole turmoil because of a child?
Yeah, that's a big deal. So now let me put my clinical nurse and psych nurse back on right now. So the first thing that's super important in that stage is communication. I actually just posted a video about, I think, a day ago in your time now, that your marriage does not need 5,000 friends. Your marriage needs 2 or 1 or however many is for you. Few friends that have earned the right to sit at your table and hear all you have to say, messy or not. Few friends that can keep you accountable. Few friends that you can, if you kill somebody today, few friends that you can call, aside from your husband. But for some people, that's not something they want to do. That's not their personality. That's fine. But when you're in that stage where you start to feel like, there's something is off here. If you know you're not in the best place to have that conversation with your spouse, I want you to start it, and you know that as well, that you're not in the best space to have the conversation with friends. Journal. And that's why I also designed a journal for wives. I designed a journal I wish I had in the initial stages of my marriage. If I had written things out and figured things out and measured things very well, I'm sure I probably would not have had as much outbursts as I did. But I want you to sit and write down your feelings, figure out exactly what's wrong, and then try to have that conversation with your spouse. If your spouse is not understanding or there's really nothing there, I want you to then talk to your friends. Those 2 friends, help them keep you accountable. Let them know exactly what's going on to the barest minimum. I'll tell you a story. A lady that just the husband was on a business trip, sent her a text and said, sorry, I don't want this marriage anymore. And they have 4 kids under 2. They have 4 kids under 3, actually. 4 kids under 3 at home, and literally sent her a text saying, sorry, I don't want this marriage anymore. And it was on a business trip with a co-worker who he has been flirting with for a while. And then she calls a friend one day and said, I'm so frustrated that today my 2-year-old did da. And I grabbed him and shook him, and I kept shaking him until he got really, really scared of me, and it made me happy. Those are the kind of friends you need. You need a friend that you can say things like that to, and they can say, okay, something is not right here. Let's get you help. You need a friend that will call the therapist for you, a friend that will call the counselor for you, a friend that will come to your home and say, no, we're taking the kids, you go take a day rest. We're helping you out with this, you go do this, go do your nails, go what, things like that. But when it's a clinical depression, the fluff will not fix anything. You need to talk to a psychiatric doctor. They need to get your medication to stabilize you hormonally. I remember working as a psych nurse in the initial stages of my own nursing career, and you would actually have mothers come in, and some of them would actually still have to pump their breast milk in order to transfer to the child, even though we advise against that, because sometimes you have their medication in the breast milk. So it's normal. I don't want you to feel like there's something abnormal about you. You just need to talk to the right person.
What are some of your success stories? I'm sure you have a ton of success stories. Touch up for us some of the success stories you've had in your journey with this beautiful community.
Oh man, where do I even start? Okay, I would tell you a story, and let's use this one. And it's not as much a success story, because that's not my goal. Is not to be successful in this. My goal is for those wives, the ones that go to bed every night, the ones that have 5 million ideas in their head and they don't know how to navigate this space, for them to see themselves in me, for them to see themselves in my story and in the story of some of the other wives on the platform, and know that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm good. I'm okay. This is just the phase I'm in right now, and I'll get past it. I just need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that, and I'll be fine. My marriage is safeable, if there's any word like that. It's not going to ruin yet, it's good. So that's my success story. I wake up every day wanting to boast in my imperfection, knowing that God will shine his own light through my fragile, cracked clay pot. So now that I've said that, let me tell you a session I had recently with a wife that almost brought me to tears. She is a little older than her husband, and she specifically said, Tomi, I know God told me to marry this person. But with everything she told me about what's going on, it wasn't as much the poor guy, even though there's sometimes that the guy is not the innocent person in the picture, he has his own flaws too. But at this point though, this one definitely had his own part. And I looked at her and said, the issue is not your husband doing this or saying that or doing this and saying that. You were still wrestling with the fact that you're not really comfortable with the fact, you've not really come to accept the fact that God is giving you this guy that you're a little older than to marry, and you're still mad at God. You're not even trusting the God that gave you the instructions to actually help you fix the marriage. You're trying to control him. You're trying to mummy him, and because you're doing all of that, you're frustrating him as well, and he's then lashing out on you. And it was at that point she then confessed that one thing that she plays in her head every day is that I am way more mature than he is. I know a lot more better. I don't trust him to do this. I don't trust him to do that. But one thing I tell people is, you did not marry a stupid man. You did not. So whatever it was that attracted you to him, you need to, when things start to dwindle down, you need to go back to the God that gave you the instruction to come together. You need to go back to that God in order to rekindle that fire. But after we finished having that conversation, and she got to that point of, because my sessions are built around 3 different things: vulnerability, self-awareness, and spirituality. If you can combine those 3 things strategically together in your life, with spirituality just to wrap that all up in a really nice gift package, you would be on your way to success in marriage. If you're willing to be vulnerable, if you're willing to be vulnerable with yourself, with your spouse, if you're self-aware that I'm not sitting here telling you, I don't have disagreements with my spouse or that. No, that's not what I'm saying, because that's life, right? That would happen. But you being so aware of what you do well, what you don't do well, that when you don't do it well, you're at peace with that. That's me. That's Tomi. I can say that wrong next time, but you know what? I will do it better next time. And you keep moving. One thing though, I play negative sins in my head, and that's how the affirmation card. That's why I designed the affirmation card. I remember in those initial stages of marriage, we'd have just one disagreement, and oh my goodness, Tomi is thinking about, he said this and he said this. I would go home and now say this and now say this and now say this, and I'll be planning divorce in my head already. Like, it's just one single disagreement, but my brain has already gone to all these really drastic things. It got to a point that I had to start affirming myself in who God says I am, and who I am in him, and who I know that I am. And I just repeat things like that to myself. Let me actually give an example. Well, let's not flip through it. But one thing I do though, during conflict and disagreement, I tell myself, so rather than playing those weird things in my head, one thing I tell people, it's all right if the bird flies over your head. That's totally fine. But it's not all right if that bird sits on your head and then nests in your head, because that's what negative thoughts does. It just sits in your head and then ruins all the, for lack of a better word, energy and the environment. And that environment does not belong to the devil, right? Because God has not given us a spirit of fear, but love and sound mind. And sound mind and peace is what you need in your home. And because the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, and it wants to take your peace, it plants that in your head. And before you know it, because you're holding on to all these conflicts that you've not resolved yet, you're emotionally handicapped. You cannot really do anything with anybody else, even yourself, because you're holding on to all this multiple 5 million grudges that you've not actually sorted out. So yes, it is super important that you affirm yourself. So whenever I sit and I start having thoughts like that, I tell myself, conflict does not scare me into submission. It deepens my level of intimacy with my spouse. I appreciate the level of friendship with between myself and my spouse. So things like that. I say things like that to myself with what God is saying and with what I am reading in order to affirm myself and who God says I am. And that helps a lot.
In your book, The Young Wife's Roadmap, which part of the book resonates with you the most? Like you say, this is my favorite part of the book because I relate completely with this part of the book.
It is conflict resolution. I would tell you I have 2 favorites, but let me start with conflict resolution. For me, growing up, I saw my parents. When it comes to conflict resolution, it was daddy goes da 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 da, and mommy goes
oh, okay. Even though she's like killing somebody on the inside of her, but she would not really like say anything. It just dies there. So then she carries this burden of, oh, I am upset, but she could not really like talk to him about what's actually going on. So in marriage, because I did not have that mode up to me, when it goes I'm like, oh yeah, okay. But throughout the next 2 days, I am playing how that conversation should have gone in my head. That I will have said this, I'll have said that. So I did not know how to bring what's here, how to bring it out. And sometimes when I finally get it out, it comes out as a bomb. I guess it just comes out all wrong and raw. But being able to learning how to actually, there's so I was talking to a young wife recently. When it comes to my marriage, I can, if you can wear a crown. There are other things I cannot wear a crown for, but if I could wear a crown when it comes to marriage, it would be my conflict resolution skills. Just being able to know when to inject humor, when to stop the disagreement. Like, you know what, it's fine. You win, like it's good. And win-win is not the goal in disagreement either. It is knowing that we've listened to each other, we've respected each other, and we've come to a compromise. So being able to teach women or wives in the initial stages of marriage, those communication skills is super, super duper important. And this part I've not really talked about a lot is sex. Like I said, I got married a typical pastor's daughter, so I did not really have lots of exposure to that part. And by the time I got married, I would just literally sit there and I guess I thought I just married a friend and nothing like that should happen. And I did not even know what's down there, what's not. I learned everything in marriage. So I struggle with that as well. But oh my goodness. So if you're going to get the book, the part where I talk about sexual intimacy and all the basic things that not basic as how to ignite the fire in that area of your marriage, and also communication skills. Those are my two top favorites.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's amazing. Tell us, where would we get your books? Do you have a soft copy? Do you have an audio book? Or do we have to buy it physically, the physical hard book? Also, you can show us what the book looks like. And is it available? Do you ship worldwide? If I want the book, how do I get it?
So, excuse me. I actually have the book printed in Kenya. So we can ship to Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, just the entire space. So we have them available right now. This is what the book looks like, is the roadmaps for young wives. And that's what the table of contents, and that's what the inside part looks like. So it's the roadmap, the young wife roadmap, how to navigate the initial stages of your marriage. This is the notebook, and it's a prayer notebook. So whenever you're trying to write down these affirmations or what's going on in your mind and in your head, or talking to God about what is done or not done, and each day has a prayer, and it's about 200 pages in there as well.
Do the books come together? Does the journal?
No, you can actually buy separately, but there is a package. There's a discount if you buy it all together as well. Mm-hmm. And this is the journal. So that's the notebook and the book itself that I showed you. And then this is the journal. It's called One Young Wife, a journal for wives in the initial stages of their marriage. Mm-hmm. And this one is actually one of my favorite. I journal a lot. And this is what it looks like on the inside. So each day.
It looks so nice.
This is actually my personal one. Mm-hmm. So each day you get to ask yourself a question. You affirm yourself. There's an affirmation for the day. There's a part to write prayer. There's a part to write what you're grateful for, and there's a part to write what you will do better tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And after every 7 days, you also get a chance to evaluate what
your feelings through the 7 days.
Let's see if I can open this page. Okay, so every 7 days you get to ask yourself questions like, what did I do well this week? Uh-huh. What can I do better next week? What filled my cup? What filled my spouse's cup? So then you can measure what you're doing well and what you're not doing well, what you need to work on.
Whether you're having progress or not. You can evaluate your progress in a marriage.
Exactly. And these are the affirmation cards. There are about 27 of them. And let me just open one.
Do they come in a package as well, with a journal or with a book, or it's you have to buy them
so
separately?
you can buy each one separately, or you can all buy the 4 as a whole. I have a team member in Kenya, and I can give you a phone number. It's 713.
Please do share.
Oh yeah, it's 7. Her name is Nelise. You can text or WhatsApp or call her. It's 713-953507. Again, 713-953507. Or you can just go online and go to our website. But the best place to actually come so you can see what One Young Wife is actually about is our Instagram page, and it's called One Young Wife. And you can just send a DM if you want to talk to a counselor, or if you want to buy any of the books and the resources, and just click on the link in the bio and it will take you to where to order it. It doesn't matter how you order it, Nelisa will contact you and have it delivered to you.
Also, I have one more question. Now, you're taking care of the young wife. The young wife is making progress. But what about the young husband? I'm making progress and my husband is not.
I know. So we, in November, once in a while, we actually bring on young husbands to come talk to wives, and then they also come with some young husbands as well, right? But we have One Young Husband as a platform. But in this stage of One Young Wife, I really needed to get to a point where it can sustain itself and there's a program for it and everything is done before I then move. I'm a multi-passionate person, and if I do too much at a time, I'll get really distracted. So my focus right now is One Young Wife. As soon as we, maybe in a couple of more years, then we start putting programs around One Young Husband. But at this point, once in a while, we have speakers that will come to the platform to talk to us about, as a young husband, what they went through in the initial stages of their marriage, how they navigated it, and what they wish their wife had done, or what their wife did to help them navigate that space as well. So your husbands can be a part of that community because we have all these resources that anybody can learn. And at One Young Wife, there are 3 main goals. We point you to God because He designed marriage and He can give you the blueprint for yours. 3, we ask you to be a part of our WhatsApp community. This community is divided into different issues in marriage: communication, sex, trying to conceive. We even have groups for singles as well. And you can get all of that information if you call or text Nelise, or if you reach out to us on Instagram. And the final thing is talking to a counselor or a therapist when you've gotten to the end of your rope. And don't even wait to get to the end of your rope. If you know something is definitely wrong, emotional abuse, physical abuse, and infidelity, those are like trending. It's just sad, but that's almost a trend now. You need to talk to somebody and you need to find yourself a safe place. So yes, that's how you can get it. Instagram is where we're always at. And One Young Husband would come. It's there, but we just don't have a whole program around it right now because my focus is One Young Wife.
Yes. For the past about 14 days, we've been having the hashtag 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. I'm sure you've seen it. What is your take in regards to gender-based violence, especially in marriages?
Okay. So this is where I wear my Tomi serious hat. If you're in a relation, God did not design you to be beaten in marriage. If your husband or your wife, whoever it is listening to this, is laying their hands on you in marriage, there's something wrong. That's not normal. There's something abnormal about it. And the only thing, what happens with shame and guilt is the less you talk about it, the bigger it gets. Are you still there? The less you talk about it, the bigger it gets. So my advice is that you go talk to somebody. If your spouse will not allow you, secretly do it. Go talk to a counselor. Find you a safe place. Come up with a plan B. If you're not financially independent, because that's another trend I see a lot. This people, some of those wives are not financially independent because everything revolves around their husband.
Try to start figuring out what you can do independently so that you can get out and sustain yourself. I'm sure there are plenty platforms in Kenya or organizations that you might be able to reach out to, and they will tell you and they'll give you a safe place to stay. But that's one of my goals and big dreams, actually, to have a safe, that will be called safe place for wives going through things like that in their marriage. Because they're my audience that I wish I could just, I like fixing things. I don't like complaining. I just want to fix a solution. And they're the only group that I don't almost have an automatic, like, this is what you should do, like an automatic answer to that stops their pain or stops their problem. It just slapped me. I want you to go to a safe place, figure out exactly what you do, talk to a counselor, see if they would like to talk to that counselor, things like that. You need to find you a safe place and come up with a plan B with a friend that can help you figure out exactly what you need to do moving forward. I just read a story recently. A wife had left, I guess, ex-husband, ex-wife, right? So they separated, and the husband actually just got arrested for killing the person he's actually with out of anger. So it could have been that other woman, really, but she left. She got out. Husbands or wives that lay their hands on their spouse, they need help. And it's not about you. It's not because you're not pretty enough. It's not because your stomach is not flat. It's not because you don't dress a certain way. It's not because of your level of education. It's not because of that. They have a problem. They need to go fix it. It's not about you. So let them go get help while you get help as well.
Yeah, because we tend to be told, take care of your girls. No one says tell your men to be good men. No one says tell your men to be accountable for their actions, but we are always told, tell your women to dress appropriately, tell your women to mind their language, but they never address the man. Like you've said, it's the man that's the problem. It's not me, the woman, that's the problem.
Yeah, it's not you. They have to go get help too. And they know how to max theirs and like this egoistic pride almost.
Yes.
But they struggle with insecurities too, and it's that insecurity is the insecurity that kind of leads them to be that monster. Some of them don't want to be, but some of them, they don't know how to be any other thing because that's what their dad did to their mom. Mm-hmm. So that's not your problem. It's taking him 20, 30, 50 something years to carve himself to be that person. You are not in his life to fix it over the next 2 years. Mm-hmm. He needs to make that conscious decision and partner with a supernatural God that can help him change it from the inside out. That's not your business.
Mm-hmm. We have some feedback. One Jaden Way is asking, One Young Wife is the organization based in the US only. How can young wives be part of the organization? I think he meant to ask, how can young wives around the world be part of the organization, and how do you address culture differences within the organization?
So, like you said, I'm fully Nigerian. My both parents are Nigerian. We have over 119,000 followers actually. And I can give you the numbers to the T. 95.48 actually percent are all females. 38% of the females, they're based in Nigeria, and 11 point something percent is Kenyan, 11 point something percent is Ghanaian, and then the remaining number is divided between Tanzania and the other countries. So when I talk, I have my Nigerian kind of culture that kind of plays a role into that. I have Kenyans on my team, on the One Young Wife team as well. I have Nigerians on the team. I have people that live in the Western world on the team. I have Tanzanians on the team. So when we create content, when we're talking, we're not just talking from the Texas or Western perspective, because I know that there's still some values. And why young wives? Why African young wives are able to relate with One Young Wife is because when they move to places like Canada, the US, and all these other places, they can't find their place yet. They don't have that pastor's wife back home, or their pastor's wife here does not look like them, so they cannot relate. So they find this good medium, somebody that knows good enough about the African culture to not say it does not matter. At the same time, know the Western world enough to say these are the things that you don't want to bring in your own marriage. So yes, there's a place for, like I said, all this WhatsApp group, we have them and you can be a part of it. If you want to serve in the team, of course, reach out and we can talk about where and how you can serve. But it's not just based here. It's based here because I live here. But most of my team, I have a team of 15 that help with One Young Wife as a whole. And one is based in Canada and every other person is based in one African country, actually. 1 or 2 African countries. So yes, you can serve. Or you can be a part of it. You don't have to be from a particular culture.
So sadly, we've come to the end of the conversation. It's been so enlightening. It's been empowering. Thank you so much, Tomi, for your time. We're really grateful.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Give us a parting shot so that we can wind up.
A parting talk? Man, I want you to know, if you're listening to me, that you are enough. God sees you. I don't know you, but I see you. And I want you to know that whatever it is that God has placed on your heart, whatever it is laying on your heart to do right now, for the past 20 or 30 something minutes I've been talking, whatever it is that you feel God has laid on your heart to do, I want you to take the first bold step and do it. Do it. Start today. Start right now. There's still 20 something days left in this year, and you can still do something for yourself, for your marriage, for your husband, for your children. You are enough. You have all the God has given you at this point is enough to do all that. All He wants you to do at this point. He would give you the grace for tomorrow, but you have the grace for today. You have the grace for right now. So do it, and you are enough. Do not let anybody tell you you are not. You are.
Thank you so much, Tomi. She said, you are enough. Every time you wake up in the morning, look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you are enough. Thank you for your time. We will be coming back with gaining grip experience from the Anika initiative. They'll be here to touch on human trafficking, SGBV, the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, and a lot more conversation. I'll read one more feedback from Jeremiah Washira. From the state of COV, I'm enjoying the show and well educated. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining the show. I'm learning something from it. We'll be right back, but right before, join us on all our social media platforms at KUTV Kenya on Twitter, at KUTV Kenya on Instagram, and at KUTV Kenya on Facebook. Do not touch that dial. We will be back shortly.